One Gospel, Part 55. Jesus heals Jairus' daughter and a bleeding woman. Now when Jesus had again crossed over by boat to the other side of the lake, a large crowd welcomed and gathered around him while he was by the lake, for they were all expecting him. Then one of the synagogue rulers, a man named Jairus, came there. And seeing Jesus, he fell at his feet before him and pleaded earnestly with him to come to his house because his only daughter, a girl of about 12, was dying. "My little daughter is dying, but please come and put your hands on her so that she will be healed and live." So Jesus got up and went with him, and so did his disciples. As Jesus was on his way, a large crowd followed and pressed around him. The crowds almost crushed him. And a woman was there who had been subject to bleeding for 12 years, but no one could heal her. She had suffered a great deal under the care of many doctors, and had spent all she had, yet instead of getting better she grew worse. When she heard about Jesus, she came up behind him in the crowd and touched the edge of his cloak, because she thought to herself, "If I just touch his clothes, I will be healed." And immediately her bleeding stopped, and she felt in her body that she was freed from her suffering. At once Jesus realized that power had gone out from him. He turned around in the crowd and asked, "Who touched me?" When they all denied it, his disciples answered, "Master, you see the people are crowding and pressing against you, and yet you can ask, 'Who touched me?'" But Jesus said, "Someone touched me. I know that power has gone out from me." Jesus kept looking around to see who had done it. Jesus turned and saw her. Then the woman, knowing what had happened to her, seeing that she could not go unnoticed, came and fell at his feet, and trembling with fear told him the whole truth. In the presence of all the people she told why she had touched him and how she had been instantly healed. Then he said to her, "Take heart, daughter, your faith has healed you. Go in peace and be freed from your suffering." And the woman was healed from that moment. While Jesus was still speaking, some men came from the house of Jairus, the synagogue ruler. "Your daughter is dead," they said. "Why bother the teacher any more?" Hearing this, but ignoring what they said, Jesus told the synagogue ruler, "Don't be afraid, just believe, and she will be healed." When he arrived at the house of Jairus, he did not let anyone follow him in except Peter, James, and John the brother of James, and the child's father and mother. Meanwhile, when they came to the home of the synagogue ruler, Jesus saw a commotion, with all the people crying, mourning, and wailing loudly for her. He went in the ruler's house and saw the flute players and the noisy crowd, and he said to them, "Why all this commotion and wailing? Stop wailing. Go away. The child is not dead but asleep." But they laughed at him, knowing that she was dead. After he put them all outside, he took the child's father and mother and the disciples who were with him and went in where the child was. And he took her by the hand and said to her, "Talitha cum," which means, "My child, little girl, I say to you, get up." Immediately her spirit returned, and at once the girl stood up and walked around. She was 12 years old. At this her parents were completely astonished, but he gave strict orders to them not to let anyone know about what had happened. And then Jesus told them to give her something to eat. News of this spread throughout all that region.